Hey Mongoose fam, I am back. Here to hang out for the second time today. We're just gonna watch some more YouTube videos for now. We'll see if we get any activity and any suggestions, and we'll see what happens. But I might have to leave early because I'm not entirely sure what the plan is for the night. Here at the hospital, they may have something else planned for me yet, but I think right now I'm good to go. So I'll just chill here with you guys for a while. In the meantime, I'll probably order some supper and just have something to eat, and we'll check out some more YouTube videos and just have some fun. Just me kind of getting a little more used to streaming and stuff. This is kind of new to me, and so yeah, that's what we're gonna do today, and we'll just kind of let it go where it takes us. So I decided this time, last stream I did try not to laugh videos, and that was fun. There's only so many of those though before you start hitting stuff that most people have already seen. So I wanted to try something a little new. I'm into martial arts. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I really like martial arts, and I've always enjoyed these Bullshido compilations, as they call them. So I'm going to watch a few of these and make my own comments. I do have martial arts experience, but nowhere near expert level experience, but I have a wide variety of experience in a number of different martial arts styles. And so I like to watch these simply because it's entertaining to see. And sometimes what I find is these people who make these Bullshido compilations actually don't know a whole lot about martial arts. And so to them, they look at something and it may look silly or something like that. But to somebody who actually does martial arts, they might recognize what's going on there. Because sometimes when you're doing martial arts practice, you're not always, martial arts training isn't 100% sparring. So there's a lot of other things that we do in order to train muscle memory for things, or flexibility, or discipline that may look silly in the context of fighting, but when you put it all together, it kind of rounds out the whole mentality. And it really depends on which school you're going to, because some schools focus entirely on training for sport. Like you have MMA groups and stuff like that. The first one being that I know of being Lion's Den, that was made by Ken Shamrock after his first experience in the UFC, and they focus, and their focus is on the fight. But even then, if you look at how Ken Shamrock talks about Lion's Den and stuff, they take a pretty wide approach in educating their students, so it really depends on the school. Some places are focused on self-defense, on just exercise, and you can do martial arts for all those purposes. But when it comes to practicality, it is important to know the difference of the school that you're going to. Because if you're just going to like a kickboxing school, say, to get some exercise, but you don't really learn how to do kicks well, kicks can really put you at a disadvantage in a fight, especially if it's a street fight. If you don't have good balance and distance, and even then, if that's all you really know, you're still kind of screwed, because it's very easy in a lot of situations to block kicks, to put someone in a bad situation from a kick. So you need to have other things under your belt, and that would go for any part of fighting, in terms of not just kicks, but also punches and grappling, anything by itself is incomplete, but kicks in general are a very, very noticeable area where people a lot of times feel more confident than they should about their fighting ability when they learn kicks. And because it looks cool, but when you apply it to like a street fight, self-defense, things like that, it doesn't always work out that way. So it's important to know what you're going for and be aware of what you're learning, and take some time to be aware of your actual skill, because that will help you decide in certain situations whether either you decide you need to spend more time fleshing out your martial arts, or if you need to, if you get into a situation that's dire, having the instinct to turn around and run rather than throwing a kick at someone. And for me, my advice would be, in any case, when you have a chance to run in a situation where you might be in a street fight or in a dangerous situation like that, run. That's always, I say, the first best option. Obviously, if there's ranged weapons involved and such like that, that changes the dynamic a little bit. But in general, if you're in a situation where you have the freedom to run and the freedom to de-escalate the situation, that is always the first best option. And after that, you look for ways to get away, ways to get help, ways to find shelter, hiding, and then obviously on top of that, also being able to recognize things that you could use to defend yourself is also a benefit. That's something that I always recommend people that are interested in self-defense, is learning how to recognize, for example, if you have somebody who trains in martial arts with a bow staff, being able to recognize that some of the same principles could be applied to like a broomstick, and that so that when you're in a dire situation and you need to find something that you can defend yourself with, it's always, I would say, better to have something that can put distance between you and somebody who might be attacking you, and something that can keep your hands safe, can keep your body safe for when you're in a fight. So whether it's a stick, whether it's an umbrella, anything, and being able to have that knowledge to kind of transition from traditional weapons to recognizing how some of those techniques could apply to other things can really help you out in the long run. And so that's kind of my take on things, but that's just me. I'm a little bit of a martial arts nerd, so. But we're here to kind of take a look at these Bullshido videos, and I'll kind of make some comments along the way, and we'll just have some fun. So sit back and let's check out this first one here. 9 minutes of Bullshido. Let's see. And then, first I'm going to turn off the music.
Fight commentary breakdowns here. We have Ashita Kim here telling us that he knows how to levitate because he's a ninja. By the way, this is what Ashita Kim actually looks like. Not the person we've seen before. I've done a video where I looked at an Ashita Kim technique where he did like a 50-hit combo and some guy who just saluted him. So check this out. He's going to claim he's levitating, and then he's going to have a person come over. Basically, he's just sitting on his tailbone. He's sitting on his butt. But he's going to try to pretend he's levitating by getting a guy to come with a hula hoop to go all the way through him. But as you'll see, the guy doesn't actually go through him. Look at that. Stops there. You see that? Never actually goes through him all the way. I mean, do we even have to show it again?
Yeah, that's just a magic trick. That's the same as like...
He goes in.
if you see like psychics or people
goes
who do
there.
all this
You see
sorts
that?
of cold reading and things
Instead
like that.
of putting
it's just
this
lying to
all the
people.
way through, look at that. He stops there, right here. See, he stops there, and magically goes the other way. Aren't you supposed to go that way? Fake. So now we have. Yep.
What?
Look at that. Make two people fall. Look at that. Mass hypnosis right here. Look at that.
And that does happen.
That was the worst chop ever.
With
Pressure point
people
technique
that,
right there. Another pressure point technique right
are
there.
willing to believe these things, and it gets stronger once you have
Oh my
demonstrations like this.
Goodness.
And
What? That
those
one
mass
deserves extra scrutiny. What do you do?
hypnosises can
He
happen.
hugged you and your body smell, your
And,
BO made him fall? What?
And this actually happens
That was
quite
like
frequently.
a dance move.
So that's why it's good to be aware of it and to have a
It could just
skeptical
be because of your chi,
viewpoint
man.
when
Maybe
you
you
go into
farted.
things like this.
And he's like, oh, I don't want to do any of this.
Because the
Dude,
problem
you
is
just
that these
turned
people
into
are
a
going to get into a
choke,
real
man.
fight, and then they're going to get themselves really hurt.
Dude, he totally could have choked you. Oh no, but you use your this area to put him in an arm lock, eh? Here out of China, 中国50 something 联赛.
Okay, so it started with a kind
So-
of soft, hard
Oh,
resistance
next person,
training
next
that you
up.
see in like
Look
Wing
at that.
Chun.
It's about water
but
bending.
then I don't know what that is.
Dude, this is
yeah,
this
that's
is
ridiculous.
comedic. I don't think he's doing it. I think he's being funny. Dude, don't tell me he's gonna do it on the girl next, man. Oh no, he's gonna do it on the girl. No, he's gonna do it on the girl. Don't hurt the girl. No. Dude, you shoved your hand into her face, man. Why?
Yeah, this is just ridiculous. Shaking his
Hop
hand.
like a bunny. Dude, that was unfair. You made all of them hop, but you actually shoved the hand into the girl's face. Look at that. Dude, you actually hurt the girl, man. Pick on someone your own size and your own gender. Unless she assumes to be male, but that doesn't really happen in China. This looks like a pressure point technique.
Yeah, no, my brother studied pressure points, and this is definitely not how it works.
I love that he has a red belt and he's doing it on black belts.
Yeah, and
Can't he just like let go of your hand? No, he wants more, huh?
yeah,
You're not even
that's
dragging
not,
him.
That's not
He's
at all
dragging
how pressure
himself.
points work.
Look at that. Can't he just let go of his hand?
Like I said, my brother.
Oh yeah,
studied
I
pressure
forgot.
points,
You hit a
when we
pressure
did
point. That's why he's
training. He
frozen.
trained
I forgot. You
in
see?
ninjutsu
You see?
for a while.
Look at him. This guy
and,
should be a mime, man. He's a good mime
when
actor.
you go
I
up
think you
against
guys have
people
seen
who
this
actually
one.
know pressure points and you learn how
Look
they
at 'em.
feel and stuff, it looks
Make them
much
all
different,
jump.
and it doesn't look like that
Nah.
at all. It is very
Ooh, there's
painful.
female disciples in the back. Dude, he has glasses too. Imagine getting into a street fight. The glasses are gonna go flying off his face, man. He's gonna get a rude awakening. Before he even gets knocked out, his glasses are gonna get knocked, and then he's not even gonna see who the person is.
Yeah, a
that's
lot of
gonna
these are
knock
like,
him out. So we've seen male chi masters. This time it's a
lot of
female
those
chi
are like
master. Look at that.
Chi channeling people that we see
Look at
all
this.
over the place.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's
Uh-oh.
the same thing as this.
Man, the women are learning too. Nice booty. This is in Indonesia. I know I'm gonna get some silat people mad at me for calling this one out. I don't care what kind of silat she has. She's not gonna be able to do that kind of chi stuff, okay? Let's see. This guy's gonna charge up his machete attack.
Yeah, these sort of
Her
chi
attacks are
attacks
so
and stuff have
powerful.
been
Look at
debunked
that.
so many times
Made him chop
by so many
a
different
bunch of
people.
leaves here.
It's
Look
not,
at that. That's how powerful you are.
you know, for somebody who doesn't know any better, it looks
Is this
impressive, but that's
Chatia,
why it's
whatever her name,
important to kind of call these things out,
Chatinaya, the
because
lady who
this stuff is
dodged
not
bullets?
going to
Guys,
work.
this is so
in,
cringe.
um,
And ever since I called the chin training out like 3 years ago, I've been seeing more of it.
This stuff is not going
Man,
to work in real
He's going
situations.
so hard on him, man. That's
Yeah,
all it
don't.
was. Just this.
For anybody, I'm going to pause this for a second.
Not the right way to train your chin.
For anybody who does mixed martial arts, or any sort of like boxing or training martial arts specifically for contact fighting, this is a sort of technique that you'll see a lot, especially with older coaches and things like that, where they'll do this either jaw training or they'll try punching your jaw a lot, or some of them do slap training where they'll do slaps instead because they think that's better. That is a highly dangerous way of training. They think that it like strengthens your jaw and stuff like that, and it strengthens your neck. But there's much better ways of doing that without risking causing brain injury and concussions and things like that. This is a very bad way of training. So if you ever come across anybody who trains a coach who works like this, I would highly recommend steering clear of them. They might have some other good techniques and things to teach, but this is a very dangerous training method, and it's still used today, and it needs to stop.
Not the right way to train your brain. So now we have a guy. He's trying to demonstrate maybe a little bit like the 1-inch punch. It's the worst 1-inch punch I've ever seen in my life. Look at that.
Yeah,
There's no torque or nothing. He's not using force like. If you want to see a good 1-inch punch, like if you want to see a Bruce Lee 1-inch punch or something, you gotta look at how the person like positions his legs and positions his body and everything. This guy's just a grandpa that, if you don't let him do this every day, maybe he'll throw a tantrum in the home. He'll throw the rice and everything.
This is the same chi stuff. You can see with his little hand movements.
Okay, we'll let Grandpa have his fun so Grandpa can not poop in his bed later. Sorry, stupid joke. So, here we have... It's Russian drunken boxing.
What is going on?
Man, this is taking the mosh pit to the next level.
I think they should start all fights with a chest bump like that. Now that would be hilarious.
Okay, so next up, that is a pressure point right there.
It is.
So, look at this guy. He's got some style. Look at him. Oh, man. His whole attack is hitting that ear area. It's hard to aim. Oh, he did a hurricane. What was that? A little pressure point attack, huh? You didn't even hit him. You didn't even hit him again.
Well, yeah.
You did hit him again.
Like these are demonstrations.
Okay, you hit him this time. What's the... Oh, he dodged. I thought it was too... Okay, so...
Yeah, some of these are a little...
this guy was the demonstrator. No, he's demonstrating you duck, make...
Some of these are a little unrealistic situations. But what they're doing here, this is actually he's actually doing a demonstration of sorts. So he's not trying to hurt those people. The point of some of these demonstrations is they'll sometimes look a little ridiculous in these setups and stuff like that, because it can be hard to set up as a demonstration something that looks realistic without ending up hurting someone. But the point is, when you're dealing with students that already kind of know what they're looking at, it allows them to kind of see the form from a second viewpoint. And so some of these things look legit. Some of them are a little wonky. I definitely wouldn't want to work with this guy, but I wouldn't say that this is necessarily complete bullshido. Yeah, it's still very wonky, and I wouldn't be happy with it.
Kim punch him, and then use your head and headbutt. Okay.
That is a viable.
Put him in a left-way match. This guy versus a left-way person. Let's see who wins. And finally, out of China, make him dance like a bunny. This is from Taiwan, actually. This is from Taiwan. They're using traditional characters. And then, so that's the technique. I'm going to show it again, yeah. Let's look at this Taiwanese master. So. I mean, it is a way to prevent someone from, putting their hands on you, but they're not going to go flying back 6 inches. You got to follow it up with something, right?
I mean, that could be a
what do we
little
expect,
bit
man?
of theatrics.
Fight commentary, breakdowns, out.
But yeah, like that would, in terms of a technique demonstration, I wouldn't, that wasn't something that I would call Bullshido. But that does look silly. All right, let's take a look at this. Nonsense Martial Art Masters, Part 6. Okay. It's got like the, he's going for like the Street Fighter stance there. I actually was in a situation once where I had someone pull a stance like this on me. I wasn't actually even in the fight, in any of the fights that night. The situation was I was there to watch a friend, and it was a what you'd call more of a street fight situation. So there wasn't entirely regulated, I'll say, but so. There's these people just kind of they're kind of hanging out there. It was just a whole bunch of younger people and a lot of young fighters that just kind of wanted to get together and test out their skills a little bit. It wasn't too intensive, but I was there to watch a friend of mine that trained in Kung Fu. And as I'm sitting there and I'm watching, I have this kid come up to me that's, you can just tell by the way he walks and stuff like that he hasn't taken a quick step in his life. And so he comes up to me, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but he wanted to make some challenge or something. And it was just kind of funny. Like I said, I wasn't there to fight. And but he came up to me. I think because he had heard me talking to someone a little earlier about some stuff about martial arts, and it wasn't exactly the same as something that like his uncle had told him or something like that. And so he came up and he wanted to teach me how things actually worked. But then the first thing that he did when he goes to kind of show me up is he pulls one of these sorts of stances where he's like hopping back and forth from foot to foot, and it was just at that point I couldn't resist because it was just totally ridiculous. I just did a leg sweep, and this kid just falls on the floor, and I'm like, even if he had something valid to say, like you start with a stance like that, that's just ridiculous. But it was fun. I don't recommend getting into fights like that in general, but it was a very specific situation, and he kind of deserved it. So. He was picking fights on people, and he had been annoying people all night. But yeah, so I've had somebody pull stuff like that on me before, and it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, you can tell that guy there, I'm going to go back to that for a second. He has some training. You can tell with that, especially that spin kick. You're not going to get somebody doing that right away, especially in socks on a floor like that. Without having some prior training on how to have good balance in a spin kick like that. So He obviously had some training, but that's one of those situations that I talked about earlier in the stream about overestimating your skills, and that's one of those situations. Did he just run that knife along his neck? What? Oh, they're doing the more pressure points or something like that, trying to do like a Spock takedown or something. I mean, I think they were probably, what was going on there, I think they were just playing some sort of game. Because you can see they have punching bags and other equipment there in this place. So obviously they train contact hits and such. And they have the gloves, obviously, because they've got their gloves on and the glove taped onto the stick there. So that's my first guess in this, is just some people having some fun. But you never know. You always find silly things like that going on in little fight clubs in the back of a Walmart or whatever. So who knows? Oh, I've seen this guy before. It's like this weird mix of some kung fu and tai chi and like interpretive dance. Ow! Nope, it's not gonna happen, dude. You gotta have that. Nope. I think, is that old guy? I think I saw a video of that exact guy getting owned. By an MMA fighter. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's just funny. I wouldn't call that Bullshido. It's just a guy having a little bit of fun in his garage and messes up. Put some pants on, dude. Ouch. Oh, I've seen this. This is ridiculous. Yeah, and I think this was a ninjutsu school where they did this. And you see this in some, that's why, I'm gonna pause this for a second. Like I said before, my brothers trained in ninjutsu, but especially with ninjutsu, you need to be really careful just because of the name of ninjutsu. It's the art of ninjas. And so obviously there's a lot of people that take that and go full Hollywood with it. And you get a lot of ninjutsu schools that are just completely illegitimate and do junk like that. And it's not that, like, some of the techniques that he's using can't be adapted in some way to other things, but just the ridiculousness of the situation. Um, I, when you get instructors like that, that's just not effective instruction, even if he has some idea of it in his head of what he's actually trying to teach. Yeah, so that's why it's important to find the right instructor and be skeptical and kind of watch how they work for a little bit before really buying into their programs and such. Yeah, and another thing too is now with the age of the internet, there's so much that we can look up online that's another big recommendation I have for people who go to martial arts schools, is that you spend time looking into a specific martial art from the outside and getting other perspectives on how certain things work. Because then that'll give you a better idea if the instructor that you work with knows what they're talking about. And at the same time, instructors sometimes tend to you get some instructors that kind of mesh different martial arts together, but there still comes a point where you can kind of tell if somebody's a little wishy-washy. So that's my advice, is always be careful when you're first looking to join a martial arts club. If you're just there for exercise and they're doing things that get you moving and stuff, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're going there expecting to be able to learn some techniques to defend yourself, or especially if you'd like to do any contact fighting in the future, you really want to make sure that you have some good teachers on your side. Ouch. Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, Mike.
That's silly.
There you go.
I mean, he fell at the end. There wasn't anything bullshit about that. Yeah, I could have called that. That's great form. I don't know what you're talking about. I want to learn that martial art. MMA, I came up with the idea when I was in Japan. Sure, Steven Seagal. Oh, this is the guy that they were showing a little bit before. That Russian dude.
Fight commentary breakdowns. Our favorite Russian guy is back. Look at that kick. So, this time he's shirtless to show off his muscles. Oh my goodness. That kick right there. Still showing off his snake mantis moves.
And he's got like no... You can see in like his kicks, there's no...
Still showing off.
Let's see, right there. You can see he launches a kick, but his leg doesn't extend all the way. And so when he hits the bag, there's no force in the kick either, because he's not engaging his core. So then what you end up with is, because of the joint in the leg, your leg just bounces off the bag or your opponent or whatever you're talking about. So like that's horrendous form.
Off his snake mantis moves. Is this footage sped up, or is he?
Was that a knee kick?
Is this footage sped up, or is he?
Oh no, maybe not.
I don't know what the angle
like the shin,
of that kick is, but a little ballerina move right up there. Man. I guess those initial little locks and pops are just for the sake of distraction, right? I like how every time he kicks, he lifts his hand up. Let's watch that. See? Oh, he didn't do it this time. A lot of times when he kicks, he raises one of his hands.
And he's never
Like that, you see,
never
he raises
engaging
his
his
right
core
hand
when he
up.
kicks.
Like he's saluting the communist cause. Okay, I'm really sorry, people. I did not mean to always associate Russia with communism, but sometimes
I mean,
it is like
because like,
communism. I mean, there's
he's
red
doing
here.
mostly shin kicks, and especially his right shin kick, he is extending out enough, but he's not engaging his core, and it's
But sometimes it is like
it takes all the
communism.
power out of your kick.
I mean,
And
there's
shin kicks can be particularly powerful kicks. So it's yeah, this is kind of silly.
red here. And here's Chor.
Never,
I mean, there's red here.
don't. I highly recommend never
Sometimes it is like
elbowing
communism.
with your arm
mean,
down
there's
like he
red
does here. That's just asking for an accident waiting to happen, because basically all that they need to do is block the inside of your arm as you're doing this like chicken wing elbow, and they can get control of your arm, and all of a sudden you've got, they've got your arm behind their back, or they can do all sorts of stuff with that. That's just a bad position to be in. If you're gonna do an elbow, you wanna make sure that it's online and twisting, rotating at the core, and keeping it tight, because you want to make sure that you've got control of your arm all the way through the swing, and doing it like that. Also, an elbow is for a particularly close range combat move, and that takes all of the force out of the elbow too when you have it chicken winged like that, and there's no real blade there. See, if you put the elbow on line, you're not only hitting with the elbow, but if you miss a little bit, you've got the blade of the forearm right there, and but otherwise you're just hitting in an awkward position that's going to get all caught up with hands and stuff, and also then you've got your arm down, so if they try to throw a counter strike, your face is wide open. It just never throw a chicken wing elbow like that. It's absolutely stupid.
And here's Choryak, our master teaching his students. He actually has students. What is that? Are those his sons, maybe? I think those are his sons. Those are not his students. That's a pretty sick dragon pattern on his shirt, though. Oh, now he's critiquing his sons. Suka, you do it like this. You would make a great breakdancer, man. A whole generation
What
of
is this,
Russian
like high
breakdancers
intensity Tai
to
Chi?
come out of this. Oh my goodness. Yes, he's actually critiquing them. That guy's intimidated by the sheer, what do you call it? The sheer ugliness? The sheer, what happened to the footage? Go back to HD.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh,
he's
that guy's
so
intimidated
intimidated by this position. Oh, he's up in my face. One punch in the jaw. Both your hands are inside of his arms. His face is wide open. That guy's knocked out. It's completely
And the
ridiculous.
sheer, what do you call it? The sheer ugliness? The sheer, what happened to the footage? Go back to HD. Oh, he's showing you how to apply it. Very interesting. So it is like pop and locking. It's kind of grappling. Interesting. And now it's stuck. Oh no, is the Russian KGB about to get me? Russian KGB about to come get me. I'm sorry. He's funny, okay? Okay, I guess Russian KGB's trying to get me. Seriously, it's stuck. But I don't know. I can't. Why? Oh, come on. KGB, man, come on. My best friend is Russian. That doesn't count. That's like saying you have one black friend. Okay, I have two Russian friends. Come on, KGB. See, look at that. There's a little bit of maybe Bagua applications or something like that. It looks like he had some influence from Asian martial arts. So interesting. Look at that. Sticking his chin out like a little Just tap that chin right there.
Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff looks
People who've
vaguely
never really
familiar, like he was
sparred, their
saying.
chins are always out when they-
But
Oh, it's
like
over.
the thing
Their
that
chins are
boggles
always out when
me
they show off any of
is like when you watch
chins
all
are
these
always out
techniques
when
that
they-
he's doing, his
So interesting. People
his
who've never
outside
really
arm
sparred, their chins
is
are always
in no position to defend himself at all. And so like right here, if somebody were to put me in this position,
So
and
interesting.
he goes like that,
People who've never really sparred.
the
their
other
chins
guy,
are-
look at his left arm. You know, what is he doing with that? If somebody's trying to do some sort of lock or control with that arm, you know, you wail on their head all day. You know, that's just, you know, his head is completely wide open, and that's just not a good technique there at all. So, and like even in street fights, if you're up against somebody who's a fighter, they'll know that. But if you're up against somebody who's in a street fight with a little bit of adrenaline, that's going to be the natural inclination anyway, is just to keep throwing punches like that. If you know, even if somebody's playing a trick like this, his head is wide open, you'll still be smacking him in the head. And it's just ridiculous.
Are always out when they. Oh, it's over. Their chins are always out when they show off any of their moves. Look at that chin right there. But by the way, shout out to Martial Arts Remix. This is where I found it. I'm trying to find more information on this Choriak guy, but I can't find anything. I swear I
And
looked
right
online,
there,
and I
that's
just couldn't
hilarious.
find
You see
anything
where he's doing this trying to control
I
the
swear,
body.
I'm trying to find more information on
That's
this
all
Choriak
contingent
guy,
on
but
the
I can't
fact
find
that his
anything.
opponent keeps his wrist bent like that. and so his opponent is basically keeping himself in the lock. That's ridiculous.
I swear I looked online and I just couldn't find anything on this guy. I was trying everywhere. Maybe what I need to do is I need to get one of my Russian friends to help me with this, because I think if we search in Russian, if we searched Choriak in Russian, maybe we could actually get some information on him. So I will promise you guys that I'm gonna ask my Russian friends if they could do a search.
All right, that looks like that's pretty much the end of that demonstration. Yeah, that's bad. I mean, it looks very aerobic. It might be getting some good exercise. That's about it. Oh, these are some of these fake masters. Let's see what. Already I'm a little skeptical from that first.
In
clip
today's
there.
video, we're going to be looking at fake martial arts masters who don't live up to their names as they get exposed. These masters have tricked millions around the world by pretending to beat their students in their classes who are in on the master's scams. But then when it comes to a real fight, they get exposed
Yeah,
and
this guy got
demolished.
got
We
the shit
counted
kicked out of him
13
by a
fake
MMA
masters
fighter.
who got destroyed. Tai Chi doesn't have the best reputation because the hilariously fake videos going around of their masters knocking out their students with no effort at all, looking like something from SpongeBob. When this Tai Chi master has to go up against an MMA fighter, he gets completely destroyed.
Oh, that's Xu Xiaodong. Xu Xiaodong is an interesting character in China. For people who don't know, Xu Xiaodong was a mixed martial artist, and he started seeing that there was a trend in China where they were, especially like the CCP, was putting a lot of support in traditional Chinese martial arts. And a lot of these, the situation is like you had different schools, and some schools would be legit, but there were a whole bunch of traditional schools that were full of like this Tai Chi nonsense and other stuff like that. And he started seeing this being propagated all over China as like, oh, Chinese martial arts is the best, and here's why. And then he'd see all these people who completely made a fool out of actual fighting. And so that was his problem, is that that's not actually making a good example of Chinese martial arts or of China. And he was an MMA fighter. So he knew about practical fighting, and he has his own school now. And he did become a little bit of a controversial figure, but he basically made a career out of calling these guys out and offering them to fight him, and they did in some cases. But the problem was it's got the way the situation ended is the CCP took that as an attack on the Chinese nation, and so they basically set up a situation where he had to put on clown makeup whenever you would go fight. His social credit got completely destroyed, so like he can't even take a train. He's in very bad standing in China simply because he wanted to stand up for the truth about fighting and to kind of call out these Bullshido martial artists for what they were. And so that's just some of those places where you can see kind of in some corrupt governments where you get stuff like that. I won't say that he's the best character ever. There are some questionable things that some people have called him out for in terms of how he responds to things. But he's what I would call more of a, as someone who's trying to get the word out about some of this stuff, he intentionally it becomes a little bit of a provocateur, and that can be seen there's a couple of situations where he has some of these Bullshido masters go up against some of his students, and when his students, if his students start doing a little bit of that showboating stuff or things that are a little controversial, he usually steps up right away and stops them. So what that tells me is that he's basically doing that as a publicity thing to try and bring awareness to the issue. But like he's stopping his students from doing that same thing. So clearly he's aware that that's not necessarily an appropriate response all the time, but he's kind of taking on that burden to try and bring a solution to this issue. So it's an interesting thing. I personally am a fan of the guy. He's not perfect, but I like his work. Oh, this one was brutal. Yeah, you can see.
This
I think that was
Tai Chi master gets KO'd in literally less.
I think that martial artist, the master there, I think his art was Wing Chun. And although Wing Chun can be in some ways viable, if taught by the right person, there's a lot of masters in China that practice, that don't actually practice in the sense of full contact fighting. And so you get situations like this where they may have a stance that looks reminiscent of Wing Chun. They may occasionally be able to pull off a move that will do something, but they've just got no experience whatsoever when it comes to a fight and when it comes to going up against an opponent that's coming at you full force. So that happens a lot with Wing Chun, and but even so, just from what I've looked at, I've looked into Wing Chun myself, and spent a little bit of time on my own time practicing some of the techniques. I think I like it as a tool in a fighter's chest. I don't think it's a very viable fighting technique on its own, but I think there are definitely some very viable techniques that can be taken from it. And I know there are some very physical guys that train in Wing Chun, and that can do a lot with it. As an example, now he's a film martial artist, but he's a very physical guy, and he's a very, whenever you listen to people talk about him, working with him on set and stuff like that, they always talk about how impressed they are by him, and that's Donnie Yen. I believe his main influence is Wing Chun, and he actually played in the Yip Man series. He played Yip Man, which was one of the big influential Wing Chun masters in Chinese history. And so it's kind of one of those things. But that's exactly what Xu Xiaodong is trying to show here. Is that like this guy is making a joke of what Wing Chun is, because Wing Chun is more legitimate than what this guy brings to the table, and he calls himself a master.
This next so-called Tai Chi master gets KO'd in literally less than 30 seconds.
That wasn't even a particularly hard hit. See, he's got no reaction time. His hands aren't even up. Yeah, like if you're gonna take a stance like that where
All the proof you need for exposing that some masters...
where you see he's taking up a blocking stance, where was it? Like this, where he's got one hand high and one hand low. First of all, you see that a lot in movies. Generally, I don't recognize taking, I don't recommend taking a stance like that. But the left hand is sort of in front of his face, and his hand's open, and kind of the idea there is from that position, you can, the idea is to kind of sweep your arms and catch the opponent's arms and such. But if you're going to take something like that, you need to have good depth, good depth perception, and know your distance between your opponent, and have good reaction time, which this guy has none of those. So this, in terms of a defensive stance, is something that he should never be using, at least at the age that he is, because it does him no good.
All the proof you need for exposing that some masters are fake lies in this live TV broadcast, where this fake master breaks these bricks with a glass and his fist. But when the reporter shows the bricks are real and strong, he breaks one with ease.
Woo! Okay, and why the glass? I'm gonna break that concrete slab with that glass without breaking the glass.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. That's incredible. Wait, no, to be honest, I actually felt these bricks. These are real bricks. I mean, there's no joke. Oh! Wow! Check it out, baby.
This next Tai Chi master...
I mean, with that one, that's a guy that runs a martial arts club, a martial arts studio, whatever you want to call it. And he's just trying to do a commercial, a little silly demonstration. This is stuff that you see all the time with martial arts. It's not, like he's trying to teach anybody with this, or say that, anybody can do something like this. But even so, you do see demonstrations like this in martial arts with real bricks. But it's just, it is a challenge and it can be dangerous. So I can understand why he would, use fake bricks in a TV demonstration like this to ensure that he gets the result that he wants for his basically commercial. So I don't fault this guy too much for that. Obviously, we don't get to see anything else about his teaching, so I can't comment on that. But in terms of this alone, it does look silly for people who don't really know what they're looking at. But to me, this looks pretty standard for like your regular like karate America around the corner or something. It's just a guy trying to get his name out there, get some students so he can make some money. That doesn't mean that he's a bad teacher, but especially with like some of these clubs like Karate, this isn't Karate America, but with some of these clubs like Karate America, they have fees that they have to pay back to the organization and stuff like that. So they have to try and get a certain number of students, or even if they're running it by themselves, in order, just same with any business, in order to keep the lights on, you have to have a certain influx of people to keep things going. So this is just a business advertisement. This doesn't strike me as anything unusual.
To be honest,
5 seconds of this fight against an MMA fighter, which is embarrassing enough. The master lasts a whole 8 seconds before he is KO'd.
现在开始第一局，南方宋德才方阿虎，一个24岁，一个44岁，年龄相差20岁。
Okay.
脚底下滑了。
Keep your hands up. Yeah.
大摆拳。
I mean, this is an older guy. Clearly he's lost a step, but he's keeping his hands up. Yeah, I mean, I'd need to see more of this guy, but it doesn't look like he's spent a whole lot of time, if any, in a ring like this. But it doesn't look like from the moves I'm seeing him try to make that he necessarily has bad training. But again, that's kind of what I was talking about in China. You have a lot of these people that don't spend any time training actual fighting. But in terms of some of the other ones I've seen, I'm not that disappointed by this guy. It looks like he's I definitely wouldn't say that guy should be a master of any sort. If he's teaching students, I think they're going to learn how to fight. But in terms of, like, if he were a student and I were somebody just watching him based on his technique, there would definitely be a lot of improvements to be made. But I wouldn't be sitting here looking at that like that's Bullshido. Like, he's keeping his hands up. In general, he had a pretty good stance. He did try to throw a couple of kicks that looked okay. They could have, used a little bit more work probably, but like I said, this looks like an older guy that's probably lost a step too. So you don't know how much of that that's kind of gone away from what he could have done maybe in his younger years.
This next Tai Chi master faces a mixed martial artist, and within literally 5 seconds, the Tai Chi master is knocked out.
Yeah.
This next martial artist makes his way onto Sri Lanka's Got Talent somehow, a TV show to show off your skills to the entire country, but he embarrassed himself when he falls off when he does this stunt. This next fake master
what?
is in
What?
way too deep. With an audience
What
of
happened
thousands,
there?
he
I mean,
fights this.
I wouldn't necessarily call that Bullshido either. That's just a demonstration that clearly something went wrong. You know, and the whole point of shows like this is to be entertaining, and so that's what he's trying to do. But yeah, and we don't see the whole thing. He might have gotten hurt after the board fell on him or something.
This next
But
fake
that looks,
master is in way.
At least from what we saw, that looked a little dramatic. But I obviously don't know what happened there. I hope he's all right. But I wouldn't call that Bullshido. That's just a demonstration. That happens all the time in martial arts. You know, you gotta entertain people. That's a part of it too.
Way too deep. With an audience of thousands, he fights this pro MMA fighter, and the fake master doesn't even know to touch gloves before the fight, and shakes the opponent's hand instead. He is then destroyed.
I mean, clearly the guy who it seems like you're talking about, he's got some muscle mass going on. He's got his hands up. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's ever taken a hit before. He with that kick though, although it does look like he has some training, because like with that kick, you see he rotates and he takes the kick on the side of the side of the leg there. That's what you want to do, you know, that's like a way to block. But then as soon as he gets hit in the head, yeah, he wasn't prepared for that level of fight. Or are they gonna say, what? Is he complaining that he got a cramp or something back there? I mean, yeah, he may just not have a whole lot of fighting experience. That would be my guess. I wouldn't call that Bullshido necessarily, though. Just a guy who was in way over his head. This one, this is that Chi master that got the shit kicked out of him.
This next old master tries to prove that chi is real, which is where you transfer radio waves and bend it to your will, but is exposed when he fails to lift this man up and falls over.
Idea.
This next fake master did not expect his opponent to be as good as he is.
5 seconds.
This next master, dressed up like Bruce Lee, gets destroyed by a real fighter who is looking to expose fake masters.
所有人都在看这场比赛。哎呀，这个非常有标志性的这个闪躲动作呀！
Yeah, see,
哦，哎呀，这个非常有
right
标志
here, I'm completely convinced, especially because he's dressed up like Bruce Lee, and you see that right there, that stance where he's got the one hand up and the one hand really low. And even with the kick that he did earlier, that looks exactly like a kick that you see in one of Bruce Lee's movies. I'm completely convinced that this guy learned all his martial arts from Bruce Lee movies. And because like I was saying with the stance that he has right here, the one hand up and the one hand down, you see that a lot in film, simply because when you have a camera, you want to see the face of your subject, of the subject of what's going on. And so they put one hand up because, obviously you're supposed to have your hands up when you're fighting generally. But then they put one arm down like that so that you can see the actor's face. And sometimes you'll even see, like in Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, you see this a lot, where his arm is down but it's bent, and they do that. So not only can you see the actor's face, but then the actor can also flex at the same time, so that you can see the actor's, big bicep in the shot as well. And that's just, cinema stuff, and make a movie look more fantastic. And, so that's like a movie technique that they do. And so that's why right there, that tells me that he's learned everything he knows from Bruce Lee movies. Maybe not, but that's my impression.
非常有标志性的这个闪躲动作呀！哦，哎呀！
This fight already starts off strange enough, with the master's warm-up being very unorthodox. The Wu Chun Kung Fu master in black shorts gets destroyed.
And the guy's in shape. I mean, yeah, if he's just a Wing Chun master, they don't train grappling in Wing Chun. So, I mean,
Thanks for watching, guys.
I wouldn't
Subscribe if you're
necessarily,
new around
we
here, and I'll see
really
you guys
didn't get
next
to
time.
see a whole
Goodbye.
lot of what that guy can do.
In today's video,
Because the,
we're going to be looking at fake martial arts masters who don't...
I'm going to go back here for a second, because this is a technique, when you see here, that's called a shoot. That was something that in the early days Ken Shamrock was really good at. And that's a way to get someone on the ground. So that's what he does. He does a shoot, and he instantly gains control of this guy, and he gets him on the ground. And from there, if he's just trained in Wing Chun, his training's out the window now. He doesn't really know what to do here. That's why it's so important to become a well-rounded fighter, to not just learn punches, kicks, to kind of well-round yourself. Learn how to fight on the
Thanks
ground.
for watching,
learn,
guys.
learn all
Subscribe
that
if you're
stuff.
new around here.
But yeah, so I wouldn't call that Bullshido. We didn't get to see anything of how the guy could actually fight. Clearly he's in shape, so clearly he does strength training and stuff like that. But we don't really get to see any of his techniques. So it's I wouldn't call it that. That's one of the reasons I'm doing these, is because sometimes I come across channels like this that just don't really know what they're talking about when it comes to martial arts. And but they watch these videos and they look ridiculous, so they call them Bullshido and fake masters and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I don't know the whole context behind this fight. I'm just commenting based on what I see here. And I wouldn't call this fake master or anything like that. It's just a guy who hasn't trained in grappling, and he got shot. The black fighter here used a shoot technique right away, which is really effective. And the game was, the fight was done from there. So we never got to see the other guy's technique. But yeah, I really enjoy watching stuff like this. I don't know if you guys enjoy it. But I'm a martial arts fan. I've trained in martial arts a little bit, and spent time over the years. I've studied. I've trained in some karate. I've trained in some Muay Thai. I've trained, done self-training with Wing Chun and Jiu-Jitsu as well. Oh, this guy. Yeah, we gotta watch this one. I've got a lot to say about this guy.
Interesting. Hello, how you
The last
doing?
guy
You
was
all right?
a
Today we're going to
televangelist.
be looking at the wonderful world of American martial arts. First up, the ever-popular Detroit Urban Survival Training.
Yeah, this is the guy.
Let's see what pearls of wisdom they have on what to do if you get shot.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. We're going to share with you today some ideas that can assist you in the event that you get shot. Push the barrel up, back towards the aggressor,
Did you hear that in the video?
and assist you in the event that you get shot.
Boom.
Push the barrel up, back towards the aggressor, and you can actually use his finger to control him if you wanted to. Or just strip the weapon from them. Whatever you do, remember, get the gun, because the only thing worse than getting shot is getting shot again, repeatedly.
So the advice is if you
So this Detroit survival training guy, he don't listen to any of his advice. This guy will get you killed. And he's been called out many times. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and if you try to use any of his techniques, you will get shot. So just don't. There are much better ways of dealing with situations like this. People who know a lot more about what they're doing here. But this guy, no go. Don't listen to any of this stuff that he puts out. It's ridiculous.
get shot, take the gun and don't get shot again. Well, now you know.
Right into the meat of my arm, right where all those tendons and pressure points are. And what you're gonna do is grab the back of your head with both of your hands, good, and you're just gonna sink right on down.
Whoa, I just go with it, lift. Even if he's
down.
My comment on that, if somebody's putting you in a choke like that, they don't know what they're doing. That's almost never going to knock you out. Because what makes a choke, when you see a good choke, you'll see his elbow a good choke, his elbow should be lined up with her chin. So this technique wouldn't work anyway. But what that does is then the bicep and the forearm go up against the sides of the throat, and it pushes on those arteries and it cuts off circulation to the head, and it can knock you out very quickly. But like something like this, when it's just pressing on the front, on the trachea is pretty hard, and it'll definitely restrict your breathing, and it won't be comfortable, but this is a situation that you can get out of, and this technique might work on someone if their form is that bad, but somebody who's trying to choke you, if they know what they're doing, they're not going to do it like this. But then again, not everybody knows how to do a rear naked choke. So, this, I wouldn't, this isn't the first technique that I would go to have in my tool chest, simply because somebody who does know how to do a rear naked choke, this wouldn't work. For this unique situation, I suppose this might work.
Right where all those tendons and pressure points are. And what you're gonna do is grab the back of your head with both of your hands, good, and you're just gonna sink right on down.
whoa, I just go with it, lift. Even if he's got a hold of my sleeve, then I'll just tuck this hand here. I'm gonna swing this up. So do this, imagine a couple of ski poles.
If he's holding on me and I'm going to have him off the trigger, just
I don't know what that was about.
for his finger, and
I'm coming in for a shuto. The weight of the gun helps the shuto work a lot better. Your hands are up in a defensive posture.
No.
You want to have them pretty close.
You are shot right there. So when you do that technique, what he calls the shuto, I'm not super familiar with ninjutsu, so I don't know if that's a technique that's applied to something else, maybe with like a sword or something. So I don't know, I can't say much about the technique itself, but if it's something that's designed specifically for guns, this does not work. Because the moment you see the guy doesn't have his finger in the trigger guard, which at the same time that's good if even if you're working with a fake gun, that's general gun safety. Unless you're intending to fire a shot, you keep your finger out of the finger guard. But in this sort of scenario, when you have someone that's pointing a gun at you, they most likely would have a finger in the finger guard. And the moment that you use that weight, that he talks about, that weight of the gun, as soon as you hit his arm like that, if the gun falls out like that, the first thing that the weight of the gun is going to fall on is the trigger of the gun, and it's going to fire. So this is not a good technique. This is not anything you want to try to do in a real life situation. Do not do this technique.
Work a lot better. Your hands are up in a defensive posture. You want to have them pretty close together, your fingers leaning back. If your fingers are forward, it looks like you want to fight. You're going to try to grab the knife. Will make me a little bit more cautious. Fingers back, looks like you're listening. You grab the back of my hand. As you grab the back of my hand, your other hand grabs underneath, pulling your elbows in tight. Having your elbows bent like this, you're in your strongest position. Turn the knife outward, makes me fall.
Next up, let's look at some
Strongest position.
Okay.
Pulling my hand.
I want to analyze this a little more.
Fingers back. It looks like you want to fight.
This is a very odd situation to be in. Somebody holding a knife up to your face like that. Are you up against a wall or something? Obviously, the first thing I would say is run or create some distance between you and the other person. But the idea that if that's your posture, that wouldn't be the first thing that I would be thinking about if I was an attacker. If somebody brought their hands up, is what degree their hands are up like that. But if you're in a situation like that and you're reading the social cues and it looks like that guy's still a little apprehensive, that might help to take some of the pressure off of the situation. If you think that that this is someone that's not going to press an attack on you, because if that is someone that is planning on pressing an attack, you do not want to retreat those hands. The closer your hands are to the hilt of that knife and to his hand, the less time you have, the less distance you have to move, and the less time you need to react to try and put some negative force against it. So that's something you got to keep in mind, is when you're bringing your hands back like that, you are increasing the amount of time that you need to react to that weapon. And so that's also why I recommend creating distance, because if you create distance from the weapon, not just from your hands, but from your face to the weapon, then that increases the amount of reaction time that he needs to make an attack. But just with you staying in the same position and moving your hands back, that's a dangerous. That's a more dangerous position to be in.
Looks like you're listening. You grab the back of my hand. As you grab
the actual technique there, this grabbing the back of his hand,
You're going to try to grab the knife. Will make me a little bit more cautious. Fingers back. Looks like you're listening. You grab the back of my hand.
That's also a very dangerous technique to try and use. There's lots of ways that could go wrong. So if you're in a situation where the person is not currently pressing an attack, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that unless you're absolutely sure you can grab that wrist and then overpower the person, because that's the other
As you grab
factor
the
in
back
this, is you can grab the back of their hand, but if they're strong and they provide resistance and you're not strong enough to get their hand out of the way, their knife is still on point to your face. And now you've shown that you're providing resistance, and that's a much worse situation to be in. So I am not real happy with this technique. I've seen much better knife defense techniques than this. Obviously, again, like I said before, the best strategy in a situation like this is to turn around and run. He does not have a ranged weapon. Creating distance is the first thought that should be in your mind. The second thought that should be in your mind is get help, find a place to hide, find something you can defend yourself with. Because again, the further distance that you can create between them, the better. If you can find a broom, anything that can create distance, that you can keep on point to the person and create distance between them. The broom can also be used to block instead of having to use your arms to block and getting cuts on your arms and things like that. So there's many other recommendations that I would have before trying anything like this.
My hand, your other hand grabs underneath, pulling your elbows in tight. Having your elbows bent like this, you're in your strongest position. Turn the knife.
Now that part is correct. If you're able to strength to power the person enough to be able to lock your elbows in like that, and then you're working from your core, that is a stronger position to be working from. But that's just very unlikely that you'd be able to get all the way through to there.
Elbows in tight. Having your elbows bent like this, you're in your strongest position. Turn the knife outward, makes me fall.
Next up, let's look at some
And no, that wouldn't necessarily make the person fall. You turn the knife outward like that. All the person has to do is let go of the knife, rotate their wrist, and now they can grab onto one of your wrists. And again, another thing that all they have to do is move their legs, and they're not going to fall. So that part is complete bullshit.
Next up, let's look at some classic Dillman.
He resists. That's all you do. For my next book.
Yeah, you can tell. Pictures. You can tell with how much he practices martial arts right there, with how physical this guy looks.
And I had a person with a 4-inch pad in front of him, and he was a big, strong man, and I focused a chi punch through the 4-inch pad and actually broke his ribs out his back. Those pictures will be in the next book. We could not plan that, maybe not even duplicate, but it happened as we were shooting, and I was going to throw.
We did not plan that, maybe can't even duplicate it. So don't quote me on this. But we were able to do it this one time in Photoshop.
Chi with the punch, and naturally I gave it everything I had and focused the punch. I threw that punch at a spot right here where that if you were shot, a bullet could pass through and not hit a major organ. And I'm glad I did, because that punch would have killed him.
That's the coolest fucking story I've ever heard in my entire life. That's insane.
Thank you for your help. I really... Oh my gosh, no!
What did I just watch? She had her own gun. What?
That's
What,
insane.
what is
Thank
it?
you for your help.
So this guy comes up with a gun.
I really.
Right there, you're dead.
Oh my gosh! No!
Okay, first of all, he's standing there like a freaking idiot. What was this guy's goal? What was he trying to do in the first place? This is completely ridiculous. And then she has her own gun. that I find that the funniest part. I mean, if you have your own gun in a situation like that, you're a place where either open or concealed carry is legal. That would be a smart move at that point if you have a second to pull a gun you're familiar with rather than one you're not familiar with. So I mean, some of that is okay. Like some of the like once she has control of the gun, you know, you've got a decent front kick. She kind of missed with the hilt of the gun there, but you know, if you get a little higher hilt of the gun, I personally would have done it to the temple or something like that. But that's fine too. That can hurt quite a bit, and that way you're not putting your hand in jeopardy at all. You're using the gun, the butt of the gun to deliver the force. But yeah, and then I don't know what this part is here, where she mimes like she's shoving the barrel of the gun into the person's chest or something. Like, I don't get what the point of that is. If you want to shoot the guy, just shoot the guy, because I feel like that's what's going to happen in a situation like that when you try to do something like that, is you're accidentally going to shoot the guy right in the chest. And if your goal is to control the situation, which now at this point the guy no longer has the gun, he's on the ground, clearly you were able to overpower him. In a situation like that, I would say you're now in a position where shooting and killing someone at this point would no longer be appropriate. In very certain cases, that might be different. But the thing is, now you have the gun, and you're able to have a gun on point to him, so you can shoot him as soon as he moves. So you can keep that pressure on. But so like from that point, already before she does that thrusting technique into his chest, that's unnecessary and would most likely result in him getting shot. And obviously, you know, if you think black and white, he's a bad guy and you're trying to protect yourself, okay. But when you put things into context and you take a look at why people do things, you don't know what's going on in people's lives and things like that push them to those sorts of degrees. So once you've defended yourself to a point where you have control of the situation, at least in my opinion, it's no longer an appropriate time to take chances like that with silly techniques that'll get someone shot. Because especially with you don't necessarily know what type of gun that person has. It could be a gun with a higher caliber, could fire right through him and you could hit somebody else. So you really want to be careful with guns and how you're doing those techniques. Now that you have control of the situation, if you got the gun but you still didn't have complete control over him, or weren't quite able to overpower him and he was still coming at you, then the situation's different. Then that might be a situation where you need to use the gun. But in this situation, she already had control of it, and so from that point, it's that little technique was stupid. Yeah, kick him while he's down.
Call 911.
That, I love how slow that is. He gets that gun out and the reaction time and just call 911. Obviously this is a demonstration, but it just looks silly.
Detroit Urban Survival Training. Right now, we're
Again,
gonna go
this guy.
over how to get a knife out of a person's hand. But today we're using from Los Angeles.
Body like that.
All right. He's a personal trainer. He's in great shape, and he's going to resist. He's not going to give in, right?
Yep.
Okay. Make it stiff, and not going to let me take it out of the hand. Okay. Got it?
Yep.
And now you have no fingers.
It's gonna come down. I'm gonna strike
Well,
here.
And now you have no fingers.
not necessarily. So what we're looking at here
Not going to let me take it out of the hand. Okay.
is I know I said before I was talking that never listen to this guy's advice.
Got it?
I still
And now
don't
you
think
have
this is a
no
great
fingers.
technique, but in terms of not having any fingers, especially with gloves,
Got it?
you can palm blade like that, and when
now you
the
have no
direction
fingers.
that you're applying the force is on the back of the blade where you don't have the edge, and there's no sliding motion across
And
the
now
blade.
you have no fingers.
So that part,
Come down.
the now you have
now-
no fingers
Not gonna let me take it out of the hand.
comment.
Okay.
That's not the reason that this technique is wrong. The reason this technique is wrong is, first of all,
Make it stiff. Not going to let me take it out of
you're
the
not
hand.
going to
Okay.
be in a situation like this where somebody is holding a knife in a hammer fist like this, not pointing the knife at anything. Like, this is a ridiculous situation. And again, all he has to do in this situation is, one, let go of the knife, and two, move his feet. This is kind of ridiculous.
And now you have no fingers.
All around it, it's ridiculous. I mean, like, it's for show. This is not a situation that you're going to find commonly in any sort of street situation, and it's just the way it's described as like a finality.
Got it?
Well, it's not necessarily described as
And
like a
now you
finality,
have
but
no
you wouldn't have that
fingers.
sort of control over the person. Nobody's going to sit there and hold on to the knife
And now
like
you
that.
have no
They're going to
fingers.
drop it before you can even
Come
grab
down.
it,
I'm gonna strike here.
if that's the case.
Now
Or
you have no fingers.
like, how do you get your arm on their
now-
wrist in the
Not
first
gonna let me
place?
take it out of the hand. Okay.
You know, that's
Got
the other part. So this isn't even a knife defense, because at this point, you already have control of the assailant. So it's basically he's showing you a knife disarm
Take it out of the
when
hand.
you already have control over the situation.
And now you have no fingers.
And
It's gonna come down
at that point,
here.
it's not entirely bad, I wouldn't say.
Going to give in. Got it?
But
And
it's
now
just
you have no fingers.
It's gonna come down. I'm gonna strike
it's just
here.
kind of silly.
Have no fingers.
It's gonna come down. I'm gonna strike here, and then come in on the mental nerve.
Okay.
Move your back.
First of all, why is he grabbing your gi? And why doesn't he let go when you try to perform this really weak, whatever that was? This put your arm on his wrist and do that.
On the mental nerve.
I mean, he might not have a whole lot of mobility, but I just bring my elbow up and bring it around and sweep his arm out. But like, even at this point, once you get your arm on his elbow, I just let go. And at that point, even if I don't let go, I'm in a perfect position to now punch you right in the face, because you have nothing to defend yourself. to defend your face. I can knock you right out. This is ridiculous.
Move your back.
And you see this all the time with these fake chi masters. They do demonstrations like that at the end, like, oh, they got knocked out and then we gotta pat them on the back or something. This is funny. Like, if I didn't know any better, I would say this just looks like a bunch of teenagers having fun in their basement. This is just... But I can tell there's just enough there in that in this shot that shows me that people are taking this somewhat seriously, and so that's just hilarious. Boom, you're dead. And another thing, this guy takes, so you start moving, either this guy, boom, you're dead, takes one step back, boom, you're dead. No. There's almost no situation where you would have somebody holding a shotgun to you and have their back against the wall so that they couldn't back up or move side to side, where you could perform this technique. In every situation that I could ever see this playing out, you're getting shot in the face. I mean, there's not even much, I feel like there's not even much I have to say about that. Like, that's ridiculous. Because anybody who's going to provide any sort of resistance, that's not going to work. You can even see on their faces, they're not impressed at all.
What you just saw is a pretty good representation of an actual assassination.
No, it's not.
It's a pretty good representation of an actual assassination.
No, it's not.
Yeah. That's like I wouldn't call that an assassination. That's a murder from a very unskilled felon.
No.
But that is not what I would call an assassination. Usually you associate the term assassination with something a little more thought out. It's not just going to be some random guy running up to you in the street, stabbing you 5 times, and then, that happens, but I wouldn't call that an assassination.
Can I help you? Take your hands off me.
I'm not seeing what's supposed to be wrong with this right now.
Fingertip power.
Yeah, I mean that's a real thing. I don't know what they're. I mean, again, my I don't have any expertise in pressure points.
Can I help you?
But even the techniques that he uses that aren't pressure point techniques, they're very viable techniques, very straightforward techniques, and so it's yeah. I don't find that to be suspicious. There may be something there going on that I don't know about. I don't have the expertise for, but that doesn't look fishy to me.
Fingertip power.
Just all of these, you're getting shot.
Due to YouTube's rules and regulations, I've started to upload the compilation stuff onto Odyssey now. It's free to use. I'm not sponsored by them.
Some of these situations where you see this happening, there's a small chance that some of these techniques might work, but there's a very large chance that either you're going to get shot or someone else that's not the assailant is going to get shot. I cannot say this enough. This Detroit survival training guy is not someone to go to learn gun or knife techniques from. And I'm not the only one to say this. This man will get you killed. Well, his techniques will get you killed.
Due to YouTube's rules and regulations, I've started to upload the compilated descriptions. Now let's all learn some pressure points.
You're going to stand flat-footed and hit the pressure point, and he feels it because it's a hip point. But then you're going to leave the ground and hit the pressure point. You see the way the body rocks? And you only know this by feeling it. Even though I hit it, he can take that. But when I jump up and I'm off the ground, it rocks through his body. You see his other leg kick out?
One other thing, any pressure point.
No, what's happening there, first of all, when you jump up and you do that and you get a reaction like that, it's because there's this interesting force called gravity. So when you have this big fat guy like this jump up and lean some of his weight onto your arm, that's going to cause a reaction thanks to gravity. But the much more effective technique to do something and get this person to move is to utilize your legs remaining on the ground and pushing through your core, rotating your core to push this man's arm down, if that is your goal here. Not this jump up BS. Even though I hit it, because in one situation, yeah, even if I hit it, no martial artist is going to hit like this from their elbow. There's no force in that. There was a little shoulder rotation, but there was no movement in the body whatsoever. No engagement of the core, no engagement of the legs at all. That was just lazy. And this jump up thing, so you're going to go from a position of having not a particularly strong stance in his case, but having a base to having no base. Although for him, he's got, because of it being him, maybe it works because he barely gets off the ground anyway.
Take that. But when I jump up and I'm off the ground, it rocks through his body. You see his other leg kick out?
One other thing, any pressure point where we're using our thumb or our finger. If we squeeze and we don't get the effect that we want, we make little circles. So if I'm squeezing and he's not quite feeling it so much, I make little circles and it becomes very painful. This is an analogy similar to water going down the drain. So the pressure points are located in a hole. You could be slightly off and be on the muscle. When you wiggle your thumb, it'll find its way into that hole. So any pressure point, whether it's on the arm, the neck, the leg, you squeeze it. If you don't get an immediate effect, rub the thumb a little bit, rub the finger, and it will guide you into that hole. So we have large intestine 10 and 11.
I feel safer.
I don't know about that. Large intestine 10 and 11. Some of that seems a little fishy. I think this is the same guy as from before. But in terms of the
safer,
how pressure points work, yeah. And pressure points can hurt. I've had somebody do them on me before. It's not pleasant.
10 and 11. A little bit, rub the finger, and it will
yeah.
guide you.
So I mean, most of what I've seen from this guy doesn't seem very suspicious. I am a little suspicious of what they're calling them, and if they say that it causes any other issues, that's not what pressure points do. But in terms of actual pressure points and how they work, that for the most part checks out to me.
I feel safer. What?
That's enough.
He's got me pretty good
this
here.
All right.
So he does this really big ki, but he's got no rotation in the hips, and he's trying to do this front kick, but he doesn't chamber the front kick. He tries to swing it up with this really long fulcrum.
He's got me pretty good here. I can't
That's just a kick with no power to begin with. And so obviously this guy's never been taught how to kick. And but even then, that shouldn't make a difference. This is ridiculous cheese
He's
stuff,
got me pretty good here. I can't really run away from this. So rather than try to move away from this, I'm going to go towards him. Right? So here's my snake, right? And here's my rooster.
Once I've got my tough lock on,
I mean, I don't see what's wrong with that.
Away from this, I'm going to go towards him. Right? So here's my snake. So rather than try to move away from this, I'm going to go towards him. Right? So here's my snake. And try to move away from this, I'm going to go towards him. Right? So here's my snake. Right? Away from this, I'm going to go towards him.
From this part of the move, that looks fine to me. The next part where he
so here's my snake.
Moves his arm in.
And here's my rooster.
That would take a little more time, and I don't think you'd have somebody sitting there like this for that. What I would do from this position is I would wrap as soon as I get down.
He's got me pretty good here. I can't really run away from this. So rather than try to move away from this, I'm going to go towards him.
I would immediately wrap his leg from that position, and because then if I stand up, I immediately have control of that leg. Now, obviously, I might still be in his arms, but I have the base and he doesn't. So no longer am I in a situation where I can't move forward or backward, and I can twist. So then I can use my core. I can throw him off balance. And then I can gain control of the situation. So it's not entirely bad, but
so here's my
from
snake.
here, that's silly. And at that point, why would the guy just let go? So it's silly. But at least the initial principle that he's talking about there, that's not a bad idea.
Right, so here's my snake.
If you can do that, that's actually
move away from this. I'm going to go
here,
toward.
That's a pretty strong position to be in. Yeah, after that, it just kind of falls apart.
Right, so here's my snake. Right, and here's my rooster.
Once I've got my tough lock on, you're going to put your tough lock on. What you're going to do is grab your hands together. You're just gonna bow your elbows out, good. You don't have to be strong to do this, but you need to make sure you use your technique, okay? From this point, now I've lost some leverage, okay? What you're gonna do is, with your left hand, you're gonna grab my right wrist, okay? Once you grab that, you just extend that on out. Good. Now you're breaking my grip. Doesn't matter how strong I am.
This reminds me of the porn I watched last night.
Me off balance. Yeah.
Yeah. The
technique.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. The guy's technique previously that we showed just before this, same sort of situation, that would have worked much better. At least, you know, you step back into him and you get down into a situation where you now have some space. You might not be able to you know, overpower his leg and stuff like that, the way I was talking before, if there's such a size and strength difference. But at least it would give you some room to do some other things. You know, you could twist your body to the side and then see if you could back out that way. But this is completely nonsense. So from here, first of all, when you put your hands together and you try to, you know, rotate your arms forward a little bit, anybody who has any sort of muscle in their bicep tricep area, they're going to be able to pull that back in. But even then, that whole principle falls apart when you let go of your hands to try to grab his wrist.
Some leverage, okay? What you're going to do is, with your left hand,
you know,
you're going to grab my
it's just
good.
completely
now
ridiculous.
You're breaking my grip. Doesn't
And
matter.
you're not,
you grab
this
that, you
is
just
silly.
extend that on out.
That's not going to happen.
Good.
And as you pull me backwards where I can't flip you forward, I just find this leg. Pull
what?
Hit. I can't flip you forward. I just find this leg. Pull, hit. Can't flip you forward. I just find this leg. Pull, hit. Flip you forward. I just find this leg.
The first problem is his rear naked choke is limp. You wouldn't be able to rotate out of that right away. You might be. It'd be very hard. You might be able to find a leg like that. But that's not going to end up like that. So like this again, this first part where you find the leg. Although even there, he needed to give a little leeway so that guy could get his leg back there. But somebody who's a little more flexible might be able to catch that leg. And that's not a bad thing to try in a situation like that. You don't want to stay in a rear naked choke. That guy there, aside from earlier in the video when we saw one, this guy has his elbow pointed at the chin. So that is the correct technique there. You don't want to stay in that for long. So if that's the first thing that you can do, trying to sweep the leg or something like that to take out his base, if you have the flexibility, that's not a bad thing. But you're not going to have this much leeway from somebody who's trying to choke you. You won't be able to rotate out of that. You're going to have to find some other ways to do that. And there are techniques, much better techniques than this. This is not going to work.
And as you pull me backwards where I can't flip you forward, I just find this leg. Pull, hit. I can just continue to come up.
The crouching tiger hidden teabag technique.
You got it.
I mean, yeah.
A hidden teabag technique.
One second.
You got it. Got him! Now you got him in a lock or hold, and if I want to break that arm, now I do chin toe, and I just come all the way around, and we got a broken. And if I want to.
Okay, so going back to this where he has the
crouching tiger
he gets into that mount
hidden
position. That's actually a real position that is used in some grappling. That's a great position to be in if you can have your knees on their biceps and have control of their arms like that. But of course, then they can knee you in the back. So there's that puts control in one area, but that's not a place you want to stay. But like so that's not necessarily such a bad grappling position to be in, but you're not going to get in that position from the previous position. That's not going to happen.
To come up.
The crouching tiger hidden teabag technique.
You got him. Got him! Now you got him in a lock or hold, and if I want to break that arm, now I do chin toes, and I just come all the way around, and we got a broken leg.
Didn't we have somebody call Shinto earlier? Or no, I think that was a Shuto or something.
I do chin toes, and I just come all the way around, and we got a broken leg. I want to break that arm, now I do
this is a Shinto,
and I just
apparently.
come all the way around, and we got a broken leg.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, like it.
Spin move, your leg is...
see more, subscribe.
Spin move, your leg is broke.
Videos, take a look.